In my opinion, the GoPro Hero 10 has become one of my everyday cameras, and the reason for that is because of the December 15th firmware updates. Let's talk about it. By the way, if you don't know how to update your GoPro, all you have to do is make sure your GoPro is on, go into the quick app on your phone, pair the two together, and then basically just follow the prompts until the updates are installed, and bam, there you go. So I've listed all the new features from the firmware update up here on the screen, but for the purposes of this video, all we really care about are the newly added resolutions and frame rates, as well as the super view added to the 5K. Now, most people, when they think of the GoPro, they stereotypically think of snowboarding, surfing, underwater shots, those kinds of action moments. But at this point, with the quality of footage it can provide, I would consider this a main camera or an everyday use kind of camera. So I wanted to talk about the few cases in which you would use it. It's funny because when I first bought this camera, I had no idea what I was gonna do with it, and now I'm saying it's one of my everyday cameras. Merry Christmas from GoPro, I guess. Quick note, the updates did mention an interface improvement, and I've only had this GoPro for about 2 weeks, but I can feel how the touchscreen itself has become more accurate and a lot more smoother when I'm pressing all the different functions. So that's fantastic. Now, the first everyday use case of your GoPro is going to be as your main camera or one of your main cameras. It can also be another interesting camera angle. You're looking at the GoPro right now. We have the typical Anush Patel Concept New Era set up through the A7 III right here, and we have the A7S III set up over there in that corner. And the reason why I would even consider the GoPro Hero 10 as one of my main cameras or some sort of replacement for an extra DSLR I don't have at the moment is because of the newly added 5.3K 24 FPS. I think that's the only quality out of this GoPro that I trust to make it comparative to my Sony A7 III to my S3. However, unlike my two DSLRs here, you can actually put the GoPro in really interesting places because it's so small. It comes with a bunch of different mounts. Like right now, that GoPro is on a floating shelf, but I could have attached it to somewhere over here, the window over there. You get the idea. You get a super cool creative angle from it. Speaking of mounts, the GoPro Hero 10 accessories package, this little box right here, comes with a little tripod, and that actually makes for a very decent vlogging setup, which is the second everyday use case of this GoPro. I'll give you a little bit of a vlogging experience right now. By the way, I am using the audio of the GoPro on this section of the video because if you don't have a Rode setup or a shotgun mic or whatever, you can still see, or hear rather, that the GoPro audio is pretty good. It's not the best, but it is very usable. Let's do a quick little room tour. As you all probably already know, here's my PC setup. Pretty awesome. Nano leaves up here, Pavo tubes in the corners over here, and then we also have my gear table right over here. You can see that we have the gimbal, there's a bunch of chargers set up. We got the S3 set up in this corner right here. My main camera is right here. This is where I usually record all the head-on footage from. We got the aperture light up here, and then we have this extra product table. It does usually carry my FPV drone right here, but that's at DJI for repair because I managed to crash it. Video coming soon, stay tuned. So what do you think so far? Oh, and by the way, if you're worried about stabilization, because that's a huge thing for vlogging, the hyper smooth function, which is the stabilization on this GoPro, is absolutely insane. Watch this. I imagine that fall probably turned out pretty fluid. Yeah, as you can tell, the GoPro Hero 10 is freaking awesome for vlogging. This is where the update, where the super view for the 5K comes in super handy, especially if you're trying to point out things like I did in the vlog. By the way, I would highly recommend picking up extra batteries just in case if you're doing all day or everyday vlogging. It's gonna help you out in the long run. The final use case of this GoPro is actually cinematic sequences. This is where the update with all the different frame rates for the 5.3K comes in the most handy. I didn't think you could actually do this with the GoPro, but it comes out pretty well. Forgive me, I couldn't give you the typical, well, not typical, but the beautiful San Diego sunsets and whatnot. So you're gonna have to settle for a cinematic sequence in my room. And the shots you can get with this are pretty dynamic. My final assessment, if you will, about this GoPro Hero 10 is that if you're someone just trying to pick up a camera for general uses, for maybe even just casually starting a YouTube channel, definitely pick this camera up. It can do everything that a DSLR can, and it can also just make your experiences like jet skiing, snowboarding, and whatever look super fantastic, especially like I said before in this video, with all the creative mounts you can get with this camera to set it up however you like. You can pretty much use it for anything. With that being said, if you want to see a full unboxing of this GoPro, if you want to see my first footage with it, I'm gonna leave the video to that right over here. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Let's inspire our creativities together, and I will see you next week.